Okay, let me switch it back to you. Let me turn it back to you. You can go ahead. Appreciate it. Thank you, D.
No problem. No problem.
Okay, let me pick you. Okay, you good.
All righty. All right, I'm going back to the books. Let me see if y'all see it again. We good?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's get back to it. Let's get back to it. I was going to explain holy. Hold on, let me move this out the way. Holy. 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 Separated. Sanctified. We got sanctified, right? You got, let me go to this word real quick, get to it. We got pure, clean, right? Undefiled. And we got the oil. That's that anointing, right? Let's get to in the ointment. Let's get to that anointing. One end. Excuse me. Anointing. Anointing. Let's see. Prosperity and the blessing. That blessing. Whoever it is, please mute yourself. That blessing, right? That wisdom, right? So back to it. With that pure wisdom, we're going to be anointed or set apart. So I found my promised servant, and with that pure wisdom, I separated him. So he sanctified us with his knowledge. Beautiful. And that's what happened when he found us, when he found his people, to judge them, to give them doctrines and, and those teachings. Let's go to Luke. Luke 15. Verse 4. Because he did find us. One man of you, male or female, of you having 100 sheep, if he lose one of them, does not leave the 90 and the 9 in the wilderness and go after that which is lost until he find it. Asking the question. And let's go to Matthew chapter 18, verse 11. For the servant of man, is come to save that which is lost. Okay, go back to Luke 15. And we're going to hit up 5 and 6. And when he had found it, he laid it on his shoulders, rejoicing. And when he comes home, he called together his friends and neighbors, saying unto them, rejoice with me, for I have found my sheep, my followers, which was lost. Right? Let's go to Ezekiel. Ezekiel. Where we going there? In chapter 34, verse 11. And we're going to go from here to 16D. For thus saith the Creator of Yahweh, Remember, even I, will both search my sheep and seek them out. As a shepherd search his flock in the day that he is among his sheep that are scattered, so will I seek my sheep. And I will deliver them out of all places where they have been scattered in a cloudy and dark day. And I will bring them out from the people. I will gather them from the countries and will bring them to their own land and feed them, teach them upon the mountains of the servants of Jehovah by the rivers and by the inhabited places of the country. I'll teach them in a good pasture, and upon the high mountains of the servants of Jehovah shall their fold be. Their people shall there shall they lie in the gourd fold that flock, and in fat pasture shall they learn upon the mountains of Israel. I will teach my people, and I will cause them to lie down, saith the Creator Yahweh. I will seek that which was lost, and bring them again, which was driven away. I will bind up that which was broken. I will strengthen that which was sick. Right? Let's go back to Luke chapter 15, verse 7. I say unto you that likewise joy shall be in heaven over one sinner that remembereth more than over the 99 just persons which need no remembrance. They don't need that repenting. They good, right? Um, we never understood how, as adamant stones, it is necessary to be pressed by the trials of our lives, only to be found as treasures under the Creator Yahweh, right? By the guidance and the promise and protection of Jehovah, His Word, and His Spirit. So let's go to James. 1 and 12. Wisdom is given is the male and female that endures temptation. For when he is tried, he shall receive the crown of life, which the Creator has promised to them that promise him. Matthew chapter 13, 44. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like unto a treasure hid in a field, the which when a man, male or female, has found, he hides it. He hides. And for the joy thereof, goes and sells all that he has and buys that field. Everything that pertains to this flesh, to this life, or he anything that we're doing, deading it. We giving it up, selling that to the wind. And we're gonna buy what's in the field. We're gonna buy that doctrine. We're gonna get that doctrine. We're gonna get that knowledge, right? Go to Sirach. Ecclesiasticus, the Psalm, chapter 6, and verse 14. Okay. A faithful friend is a strong defense, and he that has found such a one has found a treasure. Beautiful. Let's go to Psalm. We're gonna be moving around, letting him do all the talking. Psalm, get this out the way. Psalms 135 and verse 4. Come on. The reason is the Spirit of God has chosen Jacob, supplanter, unto himself, and the servants of Jehovah for his peculiar treasure. Ain't that right? We're going to go to 2nd Maccabees after I close this. 2nd Maccabees, chapter 15 and verse 20. I'll run it real quick. And now, when as all look what should be the trial, and the enemies will already come near, and the army was set in array, and the evil men conveniently placed, and the people that bring those doctrine, they established in the wings. When that happened, let's go to Sirach, Ecclesiasticus. When that happens, 46 and 5. When these things happen, he called upon the Most High Creator. When the enemies pressed upon him on every side, and the great Yahweh heard him. Right? Go to Revelations 21. And this thing gonna act up today. He heard him. That pressure was on. We called for him. He heard him. And go to this part right here, 19a. And the foundations of the wall of the city were garnished with all manner of precious stones. Exodus 39:14. And the stones were according to the ways of the works of the followers, the servants of Jehovah. 12, according to their ways, like the engravings of a signet, everyone with his way, according to the 12 trials. Right? Those stones are being pressed through them trials. So we're going to Philippians chapter 3, verses 10 through 14. That I may know him, the power of his resurrection, and the fellowship of his suffering, being made conformable unto his death. If by any means I might attain to the resurrection of the dead. Stay with me on this. Because not as though I had already attained, wasn't dead yet, either were already perfect, but I follow after that suffering, that cross. If that I may apprehend that for which I am apprehended of Jehovah's salvation. So we're following after that suffering. We're being pressed down by those trials, but we're gonna endure. We have a reason for that. Brethren, I count myself, not myself, to have apprehended. We ain't get there, but there's one thing I do, forgetting those things which are behind and reaching forth into those things which are before in the present. There's knowledge, there's wisdom, that the opportunities that we have right now. I press toward the mark of the prize of the high calling of Yahweh and Jehovah's salvation. This is what we're doing it. This is why we withstand the pressure. For them stones to be, through that endurance of pressure, to be made clear and lively, and to be those treasures that God is looking for when it's all said and done. Now, Elder Johnson, he did a very extensive and informative study on the treasures of Israel called Black. I urge you all to revisit that teaching, and I highly recommend that you meditate, meditate on it. All right. Um, we were once dead in spirit because we were acting as Gentiles, right? Because we did let the pressure of this life influence our understandings, thus separating us from that oneness with God and his spirit Jehovah. But having been found and resurrected in his first resurrection, we have a chance to learn and share the message of the hope of the alignment with our creator, right? This is true and it's beautiful. We're going to go to 2 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 9 and 10. But we had the sentence of death in ourselves, that we should not trust in ourselves, but in Yahweh, which raises the dead, who delivered us from so great a death and doeth deliver, in whom we trust that he will yet deliver us. Right? Ezekiel 37. Chapter 37, verses 11 through 14. Jehovah speaks. So we listen. He said, unto me, servant of man, these bones are the whole house, the people of the servants of Jehovah. Remember, they say our bones, our spirits, our relations are dry, and our hope is lost. We are cut off for our parts because of ourselves. For that reason, prophesy saying to them, thus said the Creator Yahweh, remember, O my people, please, my people, I will open your graves, okay? I will cause you to come up out of your graves, out of your own flesh, out of that your own ways of death, and bring you into the land, that people of the servants of Jehovah, right? And you should know that I am the Spirit of God when I have opened your graves, please my people, and brought you up out of your graves. That should put my spirit in you, and you should live. And I should place you in your own land. Then you shall know that I, the Spirit of God, have spoken it and performed it, saith the Spirit of God. Appreciate it. I appreciate it. Let's go to Luke chapter 15. Get rid of this. Verse 24, A to D. For my servant was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found, right? So we have an opportunity to truly explore his doctrine and find something which is even more precious, and that's wisdom. Let's go to Job. Run right to Job, chapter 28. Let's go to verse 12. Question. But where shall wisdom be found? And what is this place of understanding? 23 and 24. Oh, not you, buddy. 23 and 24. God, Yahweh, understands the way thereof, and he knows the place thereof. The reason he looks to the ends of the earth and sees under the whole heaven, right? We go from here, 27c to 28. He prepared it, yeah, and searched it out. And unto man, male and female, he said, remember, the desire of the Creator, that is wisdom. And to depart from evil is understanding. Psalms 111 and 10, verse 10. The desire of the Spirit of God is the beginning of wisdom. A good understanding have all they that do his commandments. His confession, his praise endures forever. Remember that endurance through these trials to get through it. Go to Proverbs. Chapter 3. Hit up 13. 15. Happy is the man that finds wisdom and the man that get his understanding. She is more precious than rubies, and all the things thou can desire are not to be compared with her. Don't even try it. Can't even compare it. Let's stay in Proverbs and go to chapter 4, verse 7. Wisdom is the principal thing. For that reason, get wisdom. And with all I getting, get understanding. Okay? And let's go to wisdom. Speaking of, Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 7. 2 places here. 14 and the reason is she is a treasure unto men that never fails, which they that use become the friends of Yahweh, being commended for the gifts that come from learning. And 27. And being but one, she could do all things. And remaining in herself, she makes all things new. And in all ages entering into holy separated souls, she makes them friends of Yahweh and prophets. And prophets as well. Through the blessings of wisdom, we can now align our lives with the beauty of his truth and appreciate the sanctity afforded by the keeping of his commandments of righteousness. That wasn't a mouthful. That was real talk. Go to Ecclesiastes, chapter 7. I'm going to hit up verse 1. A good way is better than the precious ointment. That's that knowledge. And the day of death than the day of one's birth. What are we speaking about? We're speaking about that separation from flesh to spirit at this point. Let's go to verse 8. Prove it. Better is the end of a thing than the beginning thereof. See what I mean? We're going to end this flesh because better is the end of that fleshly way than the beginning of it. We don't want to be brought forth in the flesh. We want to be brought forth in the spirit. And patient in spirit is better than the proud in spirit, because that pride is that flesh. We don't want that. We want that patience, some fruits of the spirit. Okay. Go to verse 12. For wisdom is a defense, and money, spoke about that, them riches, the worldly riches, that fleshly knowledge is a defense. But the excellency of knowledge is that wisdom gives life to them that have it. Not fleshly knowledge. That spiritual wisdom gives life to them that have it. Okay? Let's remember that. Let's go to First Chronicles, chapter 22. We right here. verse 12. Right there. Computer don't gotta act a fool. Right there. Only the Spirit of God give thee wisdom and understanding, and give thee charge concerning the service of that thou mayest keep the law of the Spirit of God that guide. Go to Deuteronomy chapter 10, verses 12 and 13. Lord. And now, servants of Jehovah, what doeth the Spirit of thy God require of thee? But the desire of the Spirit of thy God to live in all his ways, to promise him, to serve the Spirit of thy God with all thy desire and with all your spirit, your soul, to keep commandments of the Spirit of God and his statutes which I command thee this day for thy good. Proverbs chapter 6, 23. The reason is the commandments is a lamp, and the law is light, and reproofs of instruction are the way of life. Leviticus chapter 19, verses 1 and 2. And the Spirit of God spoke into the word of truth, saying, speak unto all the gatherers, the congregation of the works of the service of Jehovah, and say unto them, you should be separated, for I, the Spirit of your God, am separated, sanctified, holy. It's for our good. Exodus 12. Gonna go to 19 and 20 over here. All good. 7 days to the completion of your life shall there be no lies or no sin found in your people. For whosoever the earth, that learns that which is sinful, even that soul should be cut off from the people, the congregation of the service of Jehovah, whether he be a stranger or brought forth in the body. You should learn nothing sinful or defiled, and all your habitations shall you learn undefiled knowledge. That's the law. That's the way. Isaiah chapter 35 and verse 8. And a highway should be there, and a way, and it should be called the way of holiness. The unclean shall not pass over it, but it should be for those, the wayfaring men, though fools, should not err therein. The ways of wisdom and them laws, those doctrines and teachings. We're not going to err in those. 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verse 7. For that reason, brethren, my equals, we were comforted, over you in all our affliction. Wait a minute, am I right here? Sorry, verse 4, chapter 4, verse 7. The reason we're supposed to be in there on that highway, for God has not called us into uncleanness, but into holiness. Okay? So those of us who do the study diligently come to the understanding that there is an earthly wisdom and a spiritual wisdom, right? And it is our duty to separate the two, which will bring us closer to the oneness with God that we so seek, right? However, we must explore the issues we are faced with every day through the trials of our lives. By now, we should certainly be in agreement that pride is the umbrella which the fruits of the ground are manifested. Go to Sirach, Ecclesiasticus, chapter 10, and verse 12 up until 13a. The beginning of pride is when one departs from Yahweh and his desire is turned away from his maker. The reason is pride is the beginning of sin, those wicked thoughts. And he that has it shall pour out abominations. It's going to happen. There's no way around it. That's just, it's written, it is what it is. So we can't have pride and fidelity at the same time. It's not going to happen. We go to Genesis chapter 4, verse 3. And verse 5. Then I'll read it. Within the process of time, it came to pass that Cain brought forth the fruits of the ground, that work of flesh and offering unto the Spirit of God. But unto Cain and to his offering he had not respect. And Cain was very wroth and his countenance fell. Well, it's going to happen. You bring them work to the ground, right? Go to Psalms, chapter 10. And we're there. Oh, sorry. Chapter 10 and verse 4. The wicked, through the pride of his countenance, will not seek after God, Yahweh. Yahweh is not in all his thoughts, because his thoughts are wicked. God ain't there where wickedness is. Go to Romans, chapter 7, verse 5. The reason? Because when we were in the flesh, the motions of sins, those wicked thoughts, which were by the law, did work in our members to bring forth fruit, works unto death. That separation from God. That separation. And what are these works? What these things look like? Galatians, chapter 5, go from 19 to 21. All too familiar with this, right, y'all? Now the works of the flesh are manifested. Manifest, which are these: adultery, fornication, uncleanness, lasciviousness, idolatry, witchcraft, hatred, variance, emulations, wrath, strife, seditions, heresies, envyings, murders, drunkenness, revelings, and such like, of the which I tell you before, as I have told you in time past, we all have, that they which do such things shall not inherit the kingdom of Yahweh. It's not going to happen. So during this study, we're going to focus on where we at here. Murders. But if we're going to align ourselves spiritually with the Most High God of Israel, then we must examine these acts through a spiritual lens. So we start at Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12. The reason is we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rules of the darkness of this world, confusion, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Spiritual, right? Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 25 and verse 16. The reason is all that do such things and all that do unrighteously are an abomination, most hated unto the spirit of that guy. So we're looking at things spiritually so we can know what's going on here. Proverbs chapter 3, verse 32. The reason is the froward is abomination, most hated to the spirit of God, but his secret is with the righteous. It's with the righteous. 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 13. His secret is with the righteous, which things also we speak, not in the words which man's wisdom teaches, but which the separated body, the Holy Ghost teaches, comparing spiritual things with spiritual. John 4, 23, 23d, and 24. For the Father seeks such to worship him. God is a spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. Okay? So spiritually speaking, what is murder? Spiritual dictionary for spiritual speak. Murder. Murder. To slay is an act of deliberation, act of premeditation. What else we got? To destroy. Okay. We got to mortify. What else we got here? To kill. To kill. Ruin. Right? You said destroy, right? To waste, spoil, overthrow, corrupt, slaughter. It's an act of devastation, annihilation, and demolishing and obliterating, right? And a murderer you see this in the Bible too, a manslayer, all right? All these things can be done to the spirit. All these things can be done to the spirit. And death, with death, spiritually, death occurs whenever there's a separation, right? Whether that separation be by family, and let's see where we could look at that, how that looks. In Matthew chapter 10, verses 35 and 36. For I am come to set a man at variance against his father, and the daughter against her mother, and the daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law, and the man's foes shall be they of his own household. That's that separation. That's death. You're not going in the same direction. One is in flesh, one is in spirit, and they're going their own ways. That's separation. That's a death, right? We can see it happen to friends. It's a rock, Ecclesiasticus, chapter 37, verse 2. Is it not a grief unto death when a companion and a friend is turned into an enemy? Going them separate ways. That's death too. You can see it in the works of flesh. And I will show you in Genesis chapter 7, verse 21. And all flesh died that moved upon the earth, both of fowl and of cattle and of beasts and of every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth. And every man, male and female, death, everything died, right? Or separation from God. And we can see that in Matthew. Chapter 25, verse 41. Jehovah telling us what that looked like. Then he should say unto them on the left hand, depart from me, ye cursed, into everlasting fire prepared for the devil and his angels and his messages. Death from God. Right? So that's a sort of destruction. That destruction can happen to wicked people as well. And we go to Genesis 19, chapter 19, verse 24. Because then, at that point, the wicked, the Spirit of God rained upon Sodom and upon Gomorrah, brimstone and fire from the Spirit out of heaven. What's that brimstone? Torment, destruction, death, punishment. We don't want that. We don't want that. God brought anger and destruction to the ones that hide themselves in their wickedness or acts of sin. Go to Jude. Chapter 1 and verse 19. These be they who separate themselves, sensual, having not the Spirit. Right? Because we separate ourselves from God when we're doing these things, being sensual in the flesh, not the Spirit. So many ways, because it's dead. And there's so many ways to experience death. However, murder occurs when the act of separating or cutting one off from the chance of reconciliation with God is done in a deliberate and ignorant way or is premeditated. Let's go to Daniel. Chapter 9, verse 26. After 62 weeks, that's 62 weeks, shall Messiah be cut off, but not for himself. That's murder. He ain't do it. And the people of the prince that shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary, and the end thereof shall be with a flood. And unto the end of the war, desolations are determined. Jude, back to it. Chapter 1, verse 4. The reason there are certain men crept in unawares, who were before of old ordained to this condemnation, ungodly men, turning the grace of our God, of our Creator, into lasciviousness, and denying our only Creator Yahweh and our Creator of salvation, Jehovah, right? Denying that, essentially killing that situation, killing it for us. 2 Timothy chapter 3, verse 8. Now Jannes and Jambres withstood Moses, so do these also resist the truth. Men of corrupt minds, reprobate concerning the faith. Ezekiel. Oh, sorry. Ezekiel chapter 13, verse 6. They have seen vanity and lying divination, saying, the Spirit of God said, and the Spirit of God had not sent them, and had made others to hope that they would confirm the word. Isaiah 9 and 16. For the leaders of this people cause them to err, and they that are led of them are destroyed. That's murder. So it's done in an ignorant way or premeditated, or when it's done in malice. When it's done in malice, let's go to Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 16, verse 14. It says, a man indeed in works killed through his malice. In the spirit, when it is gone forth, returns not. Neither the soul receives comes again. In malice or presumptuously. It can be done presumptuously. Let's see. Exodus 21 and 14. 21 and 14. But if a man come presumptuously upon his neighbor to slay him with lies, thou shalt take him from mine altar, that he may die. Jude talk 1 and 8. Likewise, also these filthy dreamers defile the flesh, despise dominion, and speak evil of dignities. Psalm 83. 83 and 4. They have said, come, let us cut them off from being a people, from being a nation, from being a covenant, that the way of the service of Jehovah be no more in remembrance. Kill that spirit, man. Murders also hold the truth of God from those who even seek the truth from that person, right? Someone may approach you knowing that you have knowledge of scripture, but you may hold some sort of grudge towards that person. And for that reason, you won't even share what you know with that person, pushing them away, essentially cutting that person off from potentially their only chance at salvation through knowledge. This is murder. This is murder as well. Go to Ezekiel. Ezekiel chapter 3, verse 18, verse 20. When I say, Spirit of God speaking, Jehovah, when I say unto the wicked, thou shalt surely die, and now gives him not warning, nor speaks to warn the wicked from his wicked way to save his life, the same wicked man should die in his iniquity, but his lifestyle will I acquire at your power. Again, when a righteous man doeth turn from his righteousness and commit iniquity, acts of sin, and I lay a stumbling block before him, he should die, because thou hast not given him warning. He should die in his sin, and his righteousness which he had done shall not be remembered, but his life will I require at your power. Numbers, chapter 35, verses, let's see, 20 and 21, y'all. However, if he thrust him of hatred, shoot him away, or hurl him by laying a weight that he die, or in enmity, smite him with his power that he die, he that smote him shall surely be put to death. Reason is he is a murderer. The revenger of the life shall slay the murderer when he meets him. Murder can happen also when one sets out to destroy the spirit of another, right? Now, the saddest example of this occurring is, when a parent constantly verbally, physically, or emotionally abuses their child to the point to that child's spirit is now broken, and they in turn commit horrible acts as they grow up. You just killed that spirit, a baby, a child, right? Go to Psalms. Chapter 94, verses 5 and 6. Murderers. They break in pieces thy people, O Spirit of God, and afflict thy heritage. They slay the widow and the stranger, and murder the fatherless. The widow. Let's go in here real quick. Widow. One hit. That protection, that faith. Right? Responsibility. What's a stranger? That stranger. Wow. That babe, infant, child, the newborn. They're murdering opportunities to be renewed in the spirit. Okay? That faith, they killing the faith, they breaking spirits, bro. A murderer can be considered a robber of life, a theft of the opportunities of eternal life. Right? It's to rob. To rob. To rob. We see spoil. That was going hand in hand with murder. Spoil going hand in hand with murder. Right? Robbed. Be spoiled, bereft. What's bereft? Look at that. Because that's a peculiar word. Bereft. We could find this in a couple of words here. Bereft. Bereft. Let's see here. Desolate. Waste. Left in ruins. Right? These are types of people. A robber. Ain't that something? Vagabond. A vagabond, y'all. A robber, a murderer, vagabond, a spoiler, a waster, a breaker of spirits. Let's go to Genesis. We just talking. Genesis 4:13 and 14. And Cain said unto the Spirit of God, my punishment is greater than I can bear. Remember, that has driven me out this day from the face of the earth. And from thy face, shall I be hid. I won't even be able to get your knowledge. And I should be a fugitive and a robber, a murderer in the earth. And it shall come to pass that everyone that find me shall slay me. Gonna be a robber, a murderer. Go to Job chapter 24, verse 14. The murderer rising with the light kills the poor and needy, and then the night is as a thief. That's that one creeping up on somebody that really don't have that much knowledge, and but you're using whatever you got to get over on them. You spoiling them. You're spoiling them. Whatever type of little sneaky behind knowledge you got, or your little ulterior motives, you getting them. Let's go to Exodus chapter 20, verse 15. Y'all says it plain. Thou shalt not steal. Leviticus chapter 19, verses, let me get that out of here real quick. Verses 11 and 15a. First one, first line of 15. All right. You should not steal, neither deal falsely, neither lie to one another. And you shall not swear by my way falsely, neither shalt thou profane the way of thy God, the Creator. I am the Spirit of God. Thou shalt not defraud thy neighbor, neither rob him. The wages of him that is hired shall not abide with thee all night until the morning. Thou shalt not curse the deaf. Those people that don't understand. Don't get them. Don't try to play them like that. Nor put a stumbling block before the blind. Those ones that can't see. You're telling them lies because they don't understand that whatever you're telling them, they can't see the forest for the trees, but you see what's going on. You just you playing them. But shall fear, desire that God. I am the Spirit of God. You should do no unrighteousness in doctrines and teachings. No unrighteousness. Teach correctly. You know. If you don't, shut up. Leviticus, we're going to go back to Exodus chapter 21 in verse 16. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Okay? Proverbs, y'all. Chapter 28, verse 24. Whoso robs his father or his mother and said, it is no transgression, the same as the companion of the destroyer, the murderer. Malachi. Where you at, sir? Chapter 3, verses 8 and 9. Will a man rob God? Yet you have robbed me. But you say, and this is Jehovah speaking, and you say, where have we robbed thee? In tithes and offerings. Ye are cursed with a curse, for ye have robbed me, even this whole nation, all these people. Verse 5. And I will come near to you to judgment, to correction, to doctrines and teachings. I will be a swift witness against the sorcerers, and against the adulterers, and against false swearers, and against those that oppress the hireling in his wages, the widow and the fatherless, and that turn aside the stranger from his right, and desire not me, saith the Spirit of God of hosts. We would rather forego the true doctrines and teachings and rob ourselves of redemptive relationship with God and lean upon tradition and lies, in essence, killing our chance of salvation. Mark, y'all. Chapter 15, verse 7. Check this out. And there was one in the way, Barabbas. What's Barabbas? Let me get that word up real quick. Barabbas. Servant of the Father. Servant of the Father. Remember other fathers we did when we looked at Moab, and then we did went a little bit more extensive and found that they were like the Pharisee, those hypocrites. That right there. And there was one in the way of the fathers, the servant of the fathers, was laid bound with them that had made insurrection with him, who had committed murder in the insurrection. Because them hypocrites, they gonna get you roped in. That's murder, robbery, right? So he was a murderer and a robber. Don't believe it? Stay tuned. Let's go to Luke, chapter 23, verse 18. And he cried out all at once, saying, away with this man. No, you know what? Let's go to Matthew real quick first. Matthew. First go to Matthew, and then we'll come back to this. Matthew 27, verse 20. This is important. The chief priests and the elders persuaded the multitude, the people, that they should ask Barabbas and destroy salvation. That was important. Right? Now we could go ahead back to John. We can go back to John 18. I mean Luke. I'm sorry, Luke 23. Right? Luke 23. They want to destroy salvation. Luke 23 and 18. And they cried out all at once, saying, away with this man, away with salvation, and release unto us barbarous. They want that hypocrisy, right? John 18, verse 40. Come on. Then cried they all again, saying, not this man, but barbarous. Now, barbarous was a robber. Told you. They want that robber. We want that hypocrisy. We want them lies. We want to hide, play it off, so we can steal your chances. We see that happening maybe this morning, Sunday. They in there now, getting their soul snatched, stolen, getting their chances taken away, their life. Yep. Pride is a murderer of a virtuous spirit. Through pride and covetousness or jealousy, violence and strife, we could be cut off from each other. We could be cut off from each other. Let's go to Psalms. Psalms chapter 10 and 2a. Let me get rid of this real quick. And 2a. The wicked and his bride doeth persecute the poor. 5a. His ways are always grievous, right? 7a. His mouth is full of cursing and deceit and fraud. Proverbs 21. 26. Let me see. 26a and then 27. He coveteth greedily all the day long. The sacrifice of the wicked is abomination. How much more when he bringeth it with a wicked mind? Right? And go back up to 8b. What is it? Psalms verse chapter 10. 8. This part right here. Wait, we at 10? 8b. No, we're not there. I'm sorry, guys. Wait, we at Proverbs. We at Proverbs. I'm sorry. Let's go to Psalms 10. I'm bugging. 8b. In secret places doeth he murder the innocent. I needed that. Go to Genesis chapter 4, verse 8. And Cain talked with Abel, his brother. And it came to pass, when they were in the field, that Cain rose up against Abel, his brother, and slew him. As the Lord will avenge Abel's life, so will our spirits plead when we betray it. Let's go to Psalm chapter 55. Verses 9 through 15, y'all. Let me get it popping real quick. 9 through 15. Let me get this going. Okay. It says, destroy, O Lord, and divide their tongues. If I have seen violence and strife in the city, violence and strife, hold that down. Day and night, they go about it upon the walls thereof, violence and strife. Mischief also and sorrow are in the midst of it, violence and strife. Wickedness is in the midst thereof, violence and strife. Deceit and lies depart not from her streets or path, violence and strife. For it was not an enemy that reproached me, then I could have borne it. Neither was he that hated me, that did magnify himself against me. Then I would have hid myself from him. This is like Abel speaking. Like Abel is. Remember what Elder was saying? His blood crying from the ground. This is what Abel's speaking about. This like Abel talk. That was a man. It was thou. a man my equal, my guide, mine acquaintance. We took sweet counsel together. We walked unto the house of God in company. Let death seize upon them, and let them go down quick into hell. For wickedness is in their dwellings and among them. Them robbers, them murderers, violence and strife, coveters, those, right? So this is a dire consequence, right? However, we have to ask ourselves, is there a way to escape these situations, right? If we, in our ignorance, commit such atrocities, is there a way to come back from that? Which leads us again to ask, why fast, right? God can answer these questions himself because it's written. Everything in this book is God speaking to us, so he's answering these questions. We got it. We got the answers right here, right now. Let me get rid of that. We can go to, let me see, Numbers, chapter 35, and 30, y'all. Get that out of here. Get out of here. 35 and 30. They're the God speaking. He says, whoso kills any person, the murderer should be put to death by the mouth of witnesses. But one witness shall not testify against any person to cause them to die. Now, let's see how this looks. The mouth, right? Mouth. That's speech, right? That's speech. Speech. Look at that, y'all. Fruit of the Spirit. Fruit of the Spirit. All right. That witness, testify, declare, 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 proclaim. Okay? Let's see something. Go through this again. Whoso kills the person, a murderer, should be put to death, cut off by the fruits of the Spirit of that proclaims. The fruit of the Spirit which proclaims. All right, let's go to Exodus chapter 33. Spirit will proclaim, huh? And 19. He said, this God talking, Jehovah, I will make all my goodness pass before thee, that spirit, those fruits. I will proclaim the way of the Spirit of God in the presence, in your presence, and will be gracious to whom I will be gracious, and will show mercy on whom I will show mercy. So those fruits can begin to mortify and kill off that murderous spirit. That's what that's saying. Jeremiah chapter 42. 12. He's still talking. I love it. And I will show mercies unto you, that he may have mercy upon you and cause you to return to your own land. Hope y'all caught that. Romans chapter 3, verse 23. For all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. Chapter 5, verse 12. So as by one man sin entered into the world, and death by sin, and so death passed upon all men, for that all have sinned. You're letting us know we all sin, y'all. But we got these to help. Let's go to Galatians. Galatians chapter 5, verses 22 and 23. All have sinned because we live in the flesh. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. Against such there is no law. 1 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 8. For that reason, let us keep the feast, the abundance, not with old lies, not with old filth, not with those old ways, neither with the sin of malice and wickedness, but with the undefiled knowledge of sincerity and truth. Okay? This could begin to reassure us that we have all sinned and no man is above reproach, right? So now that God has acknowledged this and the ball is in our court, what do we do with it? Let's see. Let's go to Tobit. Chapter 13 and verse 6. If you turn to him with your whole heart and with your whole mind and deal uprightly in his presence, then will he turn unto you. It will not hide his eternal power, his face, his knowledge from you. For that reason, see what he will do with you. Confess him with your whole heart, with your whole mouth. Praise the creator of might and extol the everlasting king, that ruler. In the land of my captivity do I confess him and declare his might and majesty to a sinful nation. Please, ye sinners, turn and do justice before him. Who can tell if he will accept you and have mercy on you? Jeremiah chapter 3, 13. Always, always, only acknowledge thine iniquity, that thou hast transgressed against the spirit of thy God, and hast scattered thy ways to the strangers under every green tree. And ye have not obeyed my voice, saith the Spirit of God. Every which way, but loose. We did it. Confess it. Baruch. Chapter 3, verses 7 and 8 in Baruch. Confess it. For this cause, thou hast put thy desire in our hearts, to the intent that we should call upon thy way and confess thee in all our captivity. For we have called to mind all the iniquity of our forefathers that sinned before you. Remember, we are yet this day in our captivity. where that has scattered us for reproach and a curse, and to be subject to payments according to all the iniquities of our fathers, which departed from the great our God. We do the same things our fathers did. We did the same way. We lived the same way. There's nothing new under the sun. We've been hypocrites. We've been hypocritical. We've been robbers. We've been killing spirits. We hurt people's feelings. We tear them down. We send them off to certain ways. You know, we do all these things. There's nobody above reproach. Nobody. We're all sinful. We're all in this flesh. We've all fell to the flesh. Every last one of us. Everybody. So, as always, humility is key. That's the best weapon we have is our humility. All right. So we could shut down that pride and come humble. Everything is available to us. Right? Go to Isaiah. Isaiah 57, 15. For thus says the high and lofty one that inhabiteth eternity, whose way is holy. I dwell in the high and holy place with him also that is of a contrite and humble spirit, to revive the spirit of the humble, to revive the desires of the contrite ones, right? We must flee pride and get our protection in the word of God through correction by learning that which is meet for repentance, right? Let's go to Numbers. Back to Numbers real quick. Chapter 35. Hit verses 6, A through C. A through C. Among the cities which ye shall give unto the Levites, there should be 6 cities for refuge, which ye shall appoint for the manslayer. Remember that manslayer is that murderer, that he may flee thither. 11 and 12. Then ye shall appoint you cities to be cities of refuge for you, that the slayer may flee thither, which kills any person at unawares, ignorantly, stupidly, without understanding. And it shall be unto you cities for refuge from the avenger, that the manslayer die not until he stand before the congregation in judgment and correction, right? So what does this look like, right? Them cities, that protection that you could get, the refuge that you could run to get that correction, that those doctrines and teachings. What does that look like? Let me show you. Jeremiah chapter 3, verse 15. I will give you pastors according to my heart, which shall feed you with knowledge and understanding. Because that city of refuge is that protection, that those places of protection, those places of correction, and God is going to be doing the correcting, but He's going to give you pastors according to His heart. That's going to give you those doctrines, that judgment, and those things are going to correct you. Those things are going to whip your behind. They're going to whip you back into shape. They're going to kill off that pride. They're going to kill off these murderous tendencies. It's going to kill off this. It's gonna renew you, because you're getting it by those people, those pastors, those people with that knowledge, but it's that heart. They have his heart. And it's his word that's going to be coming through them. So he's doing the correcting. He's doing it. He's tearing you up from those places. All right. Let's go to Second Maccabees, chapter 3, verses 38 and 39. This is funny. This is funny. Y'all might catch it. Because if you have an enemy or a traitor, send him there. And thou shalt receive him well scourged if he escape with his life. Because in that place, no doubt, there is a special power of God. For he that dwells in heaven has his eye on that place and defends it. And he beats and destroys them that could come to hurt it. So those those servants, they got those words going to tear your behind up and bring you back. Um, we see it. We see things like this happen so many times, right? At KJBU. When we go out the doctrine to protect God's people, they attack us personally, right? In hopes of breaking our spirits, right? They trying to spiritually murder us, but we continue to focus only on the doctrine for one reason. Deuteronomy 32, 43. We don't got to do nothing. We just stay on the doctrine. Let them do what they do. Rejoice, O ye nations, with his people, for he will avenge the blood, the life of his servants, and will render the vengeance to his adversaries, and will be merciful unto his land and to his people. Numbers 35. '31. Moreover, you should take no satisfaction for the life of a murderer. You shouldn't be looking for vengeance. You shouldn't take no satisfaction for the life of a murderer, which is guilty of death. But he should surely be put to death. That's going to happen. He's going to get towed up. It's going to come out. So, again, we shouldn't seek retribution or vengeance for the way these people come at us. And that goes for any situation, right? Romans. Romans, y'all. Chapter 12. 19. Dearly beloved, O you promised ones, avenge not yourselves, but rather give place unto wrath. For it is written, vengeance is mine. I will repay, saith the Lord. You don't believe me? Isaiah chapter 63, verse 4. Red letter, y'all. You know who talking. The reason is the day of vengeance is mine, is in my heart. And the year of my redeemer has come. That's Jehovah speaking. So whenever we wrong someone, it is our duty to rectify the situation if it's in our power to do so. We must abstain from pride and lying, thereby robbing someone who is lost in their way or confused about something, the chance at clarity and possible salvation. Leviticus. Go to Leviticus real quick. Get this out of here. Fly on up. Chapter 6, verses 1 through 7. 1 through 7. Let me get this highlighted real quick. 1 through 7. All right, y'all. Let's get to it. And the Spirit of God spake unto the word of truth, saying, if a soul sin and commit trespass against the Spirit of God and lie unto his neighbors, and that which was delivered to him to keep, or in fellowship, on a thing taken away by violence, or had deceived his neighbor, or have found that which was lost, and lies concerning it, and swears falsely, and any of all these that a man doeth sinneth therein, then it should be because he has sinned and is guilty, that he should restore that which he took violently away, or the thing which he had deceitfully gotten, or that which was delivered to him to keep, or the lost thing which he found, or all that about which he had sworn falsely. He should even restore it to the principle, right, to the foundation, and shall add the fifth part more thereto. Right? You gotta make it right, and give it unto him to whom it appertaineth in the day of his trespass offering. Right? And he shall bring his trespass offering unto the Lord, to the Spirit of God, a ram without blemish out of the flock, without thy estimation, with thy estimation for a trespass offering unto the priest. That's how that going back. You gotta bring yourself in humility, right? And that priest shall make an atonement for him before the Spirit of God. And this should be forgiven him for anything of all that he has done in trespassing therein. So that was all I just spoke about as far as like getting into those pastors and those people getting and getting that knowledge and working on yourself. You know what I'm saying? Coming out of that mess. Let's kill off all these potential murderers of the spirit. Let's kill it off. Go to Colossians chapter 3, verses 5 through 7. 5 through 7, y'all. Mortify. That's that fasting. That's that abstination, that abstaining, that killing off. That's that getting away from things. Mortify, therefore, your members, which are upon the earth: fornication, uncleanness, inordinate affection, evil concupiscence, and covetousness, which is idolatry. For these things, for which things' sake, the wrath of God comes on the works of disobedience, in the which ye also have lived sometime when you lived in them. Right? We did these things. We did all of it. Let's seek peace and not evil. Right? Psalm chapter 94. 94, y'all. Verses, let me get this out of here. Verses 14 and 15. 94, verse 14 and 15. For the Lord will not cast off his people, neither will he forsake his inheritance, but correction shall return unto the righteousness. Okay? And all that upright in heart shall follow it. Humble yourselves and receive this correction so we can get all this dross up out of us, this nastiness, these murderous and robbing tendencies out of us, this hypocrisy. Let's get it out of us. We've done things, man. We've done so much. We've done so much in our lives. Jeremiah chapter 33, verse 8. What he say? We do such things, we do these things correctly, I will cleanse them from all their iniquity, whereby they have sinned against me. And I will pardon all their iniquities, whereby they have sinned, and whereby they have transgressed or forgotten against me. We've done these things, but again, there's a way out of it, and it starts with humility. Psalms 101. I'll just read the whole thing real quick. That's how I feel about it. I will sing of mercy and doctrines and teaching or correction unto the Spirit of God. Will I sing. Until thee, please, Spirit of God, will I sing. I confess. I pray. I will behave myself wisely in a perfect way. Please, when will thou come unto me? I will live within my house and my people with a perfect heart of desire. I will set no wicked thing before my understandings. I hate the work of them that turn aside. This should not cleave to me. A forward desire shall depart from me. I will not know a wicked person. Whoso privately slanders his neighbor, him will I cut off. Him that has an high look and a proud heart, will I not suffer. I ain't letting that happen. My understanding should be upon the faithful of the people, and that they may dwell with me. We're going to be together, us, all of us, if we do it correctly. We walk. He that lives in a perfect way, he shall serve me. Those elders and deacons and that's holding to this word 100% and moving correctly. He that works deceit should not dwell in my people. He that tells lies should not tarry in my sight. Not my. I will early destroy all the wicked of the land, that I may cut off all wicked doors from the city of the Spirit of God. Right? So, murder is a very serious offense. It's pretty tough to come back from, right? But as we see how it can look spiritually, let's talk about instances where we might have been reckless in the way that we came at somebody, or perhaps, giving some information that might have been detrimental to someone, or potentially robbing them of true peace. It happens. We've all been there. We've all made those mistakes. But we have measures. What measures have you taken to rectify these situations and abstain from future instances? Sister Donna?
Shalom, Deacon. How you doing?
Good. Shalom, shalom.
It's a good teaching this morning. Thank you. It came in my mind this morning when you taught this lesson about how I used to take children to church. I used to get the church bus and used to pick up my students and take them to church, and I was like,